Good morning. Today we're going to have a demonstration of how to bake a cheesecake. It's not difficult, but it is time consuming. I have all my ingredients out. The first thing that we want to do is we want to make the graham cracker crust in the Springform pan. I have a 9-inch Springform pan, so the first thing we do is put 2 cups of crushed graham cracker crumbs in the pan. The next item that we add is 3 tablespoons of sugar. And I'm just going to get some sugar out of the canister and then measure out 3 tablespoons. And what I like to do before I add my butter is mix the sugar into the graham crackers right in the pan. And then I'm going to add my 3 tablespoons of butter. And right on the butter, there are measurements. So 3 tablespoons. And I'm just going to cut that right like that. Take the butter out of the wrapper. Put it in the graham cracker crumbs. And then you've got to incorporate the butter into the graham crackers. This takes a little bit of time. All right, now that the butter is incorporated into the graham cracker crumbs, what I do is I take a measuring cup and I want to flatten the crumbs out, and it should go up the side like an inch, so that it'll hold the liquid ingredients once you mix up your cream cheese mixture, that it won't come out on the bottom of your pan. This is actually one of the hardest parts, but it's not that bad. You just have to get used to what you're doing. Okay, so I have this ready to go in the oven in just a moment. But do you see how the center is flattened down and the sides go, the graham crackers go up the sides of the pan? All right, so now we're gonna put this in the oven at 350 degrees for 5 minutes.
Please note, this is a convection bake oven, so 325 means 350.
All right, the crust is done, so we're gonna take it out of the oven and we're gonna cool it. And I'm putting it on a cooling rack. While the crust is cooling, the first thing you wanna do is lower your oven temperature to 325. And with my convection bake, I have to make it 300. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make the batter. Into the batter goes 4 8-ounce cream cheeses. And I use a spatula, or a spatula to get this out. And anytime you add ingredients in this recipe, you are to mix it up every time. So as soon as I get the cream cheese in here, we're gonna beat it until it's nice and soft and fluffy looking. And then we will add our next ingredient. So let me just turn my mixer on. I'm gonna lock it in place, turn my mixer on, and let it beat for a little bit. Now I want to push the cream cheese down to make sure it's all getting mixed up. Get it off the beater. So I'm gonna mix it a little more. I think that's good. I'm going to get it off the beater. Now the next ingredient that I put in there is 1.5 cups of sugar. So let me get my sugar canister. And I have a 1/2 scoop in here. So I'm just gonna put this in. That's 1 cup, 1.5. So we need to mix up, incorporate the sugar into the cream cheese. Next, what we're gonna add is 3 tablespoons of flour. So I wanna get my tablespoon measurer. Sorry, Colin. I wanted to see what was next. 1, 2, 3. So let's mix that in. And then I'm gonna push down on the sides again. You wanna do this every time you add an ingredient, because you wanna make sure that everything gets mixed together well. All right, now we're gonna add 4 eggs. And you should always put your egg in some sort of container, so in case you would get a part of an eggshell, you can get it out before you put it into your cheesecake. And of course, I did. Okay, that was really messy. Now, let me just rinse my hands off and rinse out my measuring cup. Okay, so now we're gonna mix up the eggs really well. And if you can lock your mixer, if it's on a stand, I would advise to do that. And of course, the next step now is to scrape down your sides. I don't know if you can see that it's getting a little bit creamier. And with the egg in there, it's taking on a yellow hue. But you want to get all your eggs incorporated in there. Okay. Now, I believe the sour cream is next. So we need to put in a 1/2 pint of sour cream, which is 1 cup. So I'm going to get a spoon and I'm going to measure out 1 cup of sour cream. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to put the sour cream into our batter. Okay, now we'll lock it in place. And now we have to add a 1/2 pint of heavy cream. If you can find heavy whipping cream, that's great. So once again, we need 1 cup of whipping cream, heavy cream, whatever you can find in the grocery store. It doesn't matter, it's all the same. And when you measure in a liquid measuring cup, you should always stand back a little so that the measurement is just a tad above that measuring line for 1 cup. Okay, perfect. So now we're gonna add the heavy cream. And when you turn your mixer on, don't put it on high, or else the liquid is going to go all over the kitchen. These are things you learn as you bake for years, what to do and what not to do. So let's mix that one more time. And then the very last thing to put in here is 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. So I have my 2 measuring spoons here. All right. So you measure out 1 teaspoon and a half. And then we're gonna mix that up. Remember, when you start liquid, you go slow so it gets into the batter and it doesn't fly all over the place. And then you can go a little faster. And just let your beater drain for a second. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move the cooled crust over to my cutting board so that I can dump the batter into the cooled crust. Now, the next step is to put the batter into the crumbs. So just pour it in gently, go around in a circle so that the batter layers evenly. What I'm doing now, this is the hardest thing for me, is not dropping the bowl into the batter to get everything out. Okay, now that the batter is in your pan, we can put it in the oven and it goes in for 1 hour. Now you can clean up your kitchen a little bit while it's baking, or rest, read a book, something of that nature. Okay, the hour is up, so now we're going to pull our cheesecake out of the oven. So I'm going to pull this out carefully. And don't be alarmed that it jiggles there in the middle. It will go down. Now what you have to do is let it rest for 10 minutes. So once again, I'm going to put it on the cooling rack to do that. And we now have to adjust our oven temperature. It's supposed to go to 375, so I will change my oven to 350 because it's a convection bake. While we're waiting the 10 minutes for the cheesecake to rest, we're going to mix up our topping. So I have 1 cup of sour cream, and I'm going to put it in this measuring cup. And a 1/4 cup of sugar and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So you're going to measure this out again with your teaspoon. Okay, and you just mix this up. That is your topping. And we have 10 minutes. So once this is mixed up, you can just wait until you put this on top of the cheesecake, and then it will go back in the oven again for 10 minutes. Okay, I would just suggest you stir your topping again. Now we are ready. It has been 10 minutes, so we can put the topping on the cheesecake, and you just carefully spoon it over the top. And it will go over the sides, and that's why I put paper towel underneath my cooling rack so that the mess is not so bad to clean up. Let's put that topping on. You want to try to get it to the edges, but if you don't, it's no big deal. Okay, now that we have our topping on there, we're going to put this back in the oven, which it's supposed to be at 375 for 10 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my rack out and then get the cheesecake off the cooling rack. And back in the oven. And it will bake for 10 more minutes. All right, the 10 minutes are up, so now we're gonna pull our cheesecake out from the oven. So let me just do that a minute. I always do that. I always burn myself when I'm baking. Okay, we're gonna put this on the cooling rack. And now, let me explain the rest of the directions. The cheesecake has to sit at room temperature for 3 hours. When those 3 hours are up, then you must put the cheesecake in the pan into your refrigerator for 6 hours. When the 6 hours are up, then you would unhinge this and you get your cheesecake out. The side will lift from the bottom, and then you put the cheesecake on another serving platter.